Welcome to the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and this episode is brought to you by the Resilient Entrepreneur Program, a program that's designed to support entrepreneurs overcome obstacles that they might face as they continue to start or grow their business. The big concept about mindset, self-awareness, the business side of things, of leveraging what they have, moving forward as a last step, is what the Canvas is all about. And you could download a free copy of the Canvas at ISM website, International Strategic Management, myisminc.com. You find the Canvas there. Welcome. For the past few months, in addition to the blogs I've been writing, I've got a few people asking me, Faris, how do you craft a story to pitch? You've talked to us about don't pitch, tell a story. You've told us what the funders may ask themselves, but how do I draft a story? And what I did is I started reflecting, and by the way, I've blogged about this in the past as well. I started reflecting on what were some of the powerful presentations that I've heard or others were impacted with, or at least made an impact on the listeners on. And what are some of those components that they had in their presentation? So I'm going to focus today on 3 of those ideas to help you think through what can you do to support your concept for your business when you're pitching a story. So as you craft, and remember, this comes from the idea of don't pitch, tell a story. This comes from the idea of what the funders are listening to so they could reflect on you or support you or fund you or ask you good questions that helps you share the insights about your business. And these kinds of things can take time. So what are some of the things that you could think about? Well, the first thing you want to think about is focus on why you're doing what you're doing. Now, remember, you can't spend 3 hours on this explaining it. You can't spend 2 hours. You can't spend 1 hour. You got to be able to be fast with this move. So why are you doing it? It comes from the experience that you have through your journey. Did you get results? What happened? Did someone ask you to do it? Did you do it because you saw a need? How did this market respond to that need? Was there a bigger demand? What challenge did you face, right? So focus on why you're doing what you're doing to bring that story up. Dig a little deep. In a recent situation where an entrepreneur was pitching, I knew a lot more about the story than they were sharing. And I pushed a little bit hard. And the reason why I pushed, because if you don't get to share the truth of what's going on, then the people who are listening will hear it. So drafting the story is sometimes a process. And I love what Warren Buffett once said, you can't get 9 women pregnant to deliver a baby in 1 month. And what he meant by that is it takes 9 months to get 1 baby delivered, right? So someone has to be pregnant for 9 months roughly. Obviously, sometimes the babies can come earlier, but generally speaking, 9 months of someone being pregnant for the baby to come out. It's a process. So sometimes what I've seen is people try to dodge that process, saying, all right, I could do something else to get there. Maybe, but probably not. It's a process that you have to go through, and you have to let the time passes through it. So the first thing I'm going to do is share and focus on why doing what you're doing. Why are you doing it? And dig a little deep on the reasons behind it. Because the factors that are motivating you to do what you're doing can allow the listeners to buy into the story or not. Remember, we talked about what they're listening to. Do I like you? Do I want to hear more from you? Do I trust you? Do I want to listen? Do I want to take this conversation further, right? So these are things that they're thinking about based on the story and what you're focusing on. So one, focus on why you're doing it. Dig deep, right? Don't give me just the surface. One example is, this is a family legacy. We want to continuing it. My brother started it. My mother started it. My father started it. Whatever scenario is, I started it because of XYZ. Dig deep. Now, remember, you can't dig deep for 5 hours. And I will say that occasionally you might get emotional. And if you are getting emotional, because I've been there interviewing with someone and they'll ask me a question and I casually start answering. And before I realize that emotions are taking over my words or my brain or my thoughts or my heart, take a breather. Pause. That pause can be very powerful in the story that you are crafting. It's part of the story crafting. Let's take a break and continue on the other two items I would like to share with you today about how to craft your entrepreneurial journey while pitching. We'll be right back after. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us. This is the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and today we're discussing the crafting your entrepreneurial story and the ways that you could pitch your story. And we've already talked about don't pitch, tell a story. Already I said what kind of questions funders may ask or judges may ask themselves as they're listening to you. And we're just building it all up together. So therefore, by these few episodes that you may hear, it might allow you to think through what kinds of things you need to do to tell the story. And a lot of things I talk about through this show, people have told me, Faris, this is so simple, so easy, but yet no one is doing it. Why is it so hard? It is hard. It sounds easy because it's words that we all know. We all know what pitching is. We all know what focus is. We all know tell me why you're doing something. But no one really knows how to dig deep and get it out there. And it takes time. It took me years to be able to pull these things out of individuals, because I used to say the same thing, but no one responded in the same way, right? Because I just wasn't saying it in a way that was meaningful to the individuals that was listening to me or engaging with me in a conversation. So it takes time. It's a process, and you have to allow it to take its time. All right, so we talked about number one, focus on the why. And while you're focusing on the why, you got to dig, right? You may have to tell the story. You may have to tell the behind the story to get you there. Number two, don't focus on the slides or focus on, on the material that you're handing out or pictures of your widget, whatever. Focus on really one thing. Focus on the story and the business side of it, right? What got you started? What have you done to get started? Where you are now? What have you done to get here? Where do you want to go next? What do you plan to do to get there? Whether they get on supporting you or they're not, right? Many times I hear people say, well, I don't need any funding first. No problem. It's not about funding. You might be pitching the story to a partnership. You might be pitching the story for someone that maybe refer you to someone. It's about understanding that you might not need money today, but you could also be strategic about how you say that, right? You could say, at this moment, we're choosing to self-fund. At this moment, we are able to self-fund it. At this moment, we are sitting on cash that allows us to take action on this without any external support. There are lots of ways to say it, and I never want to tell anyone what to say or to do. I just want to share with you the frame or the reference points, and I want you to see what fits you best, what makes you tick to move these ideas forward. So think about what you could do with that. Focus on the story. Focus on the art of the story. Focus on the details of the story that brings it up. Now, be careful, because remember, I can talk about 2 minutes to 15 minutes. And if you're talking about 1 to 3 minutes, you can be very specific about what part of the story do you choose to highlight to bring up to the attention of the individuals who are listening to engage you in a conversation and to move forward. All right. The last thing I'm going to say today, and obviously there are lots more to talk about this, but I'm focusing on 3 bullet points here. The third one is really understanding the body language, right? Your movement, the way you articulate things. Watch their body language. Are they listening or are they defending? Did you say something that caught their eyes, or did you say something that made them think, do I want to listen, or do I want to trust, or do I believe, right? You want to think through that emotions by you individually watching what you're doing or saying, your body movements, as well as the listeners or the audience in general, okay? So you want to make sure that you do that by being alert, taking your time to present. Many times, I'm guilty of it, is we want to speak 200 words a minute, and that's okay. Just remember to slow down occasionally, and especially if there's a translation going at the same time, you definitely want to slow down to allow the translators to catch up with you. But second, take breathers or take pauses, because those can be powerful to allow them to know that you just said something that's maybe important or relevant, or they may want to pay attention to. Thank you so much for being with us at the show. This is the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami. Until next time, have a good day.